Hi there, dear friends. This is Bob Hatton. This is the Encourager. Wonderful that you're here today. I'm so excited about this story, what we have been looking at, this Exodus. The people of Israel are leaving Egypt, where they have been living for 400 years, and most of this time they've been working as slaves. They are ready, and they quickly eat a meal with the meat of the lamb that has been sacrificed or slaughtered. And God had told them, or Moses had told them, that they had to make unleavened bread, which is quickly finished. They don't need to wait for the yeast to rise. They're quick. They're on their way. They've already packed their stuff. They're allowed to loot Egypt. They can take the 400 years of back pay with them, and they're off. But as I said yesterday, it wasn't a very orderly thing that was happening. People were coming from all over the country. They had to walk. There were no buses or trains. They had to walk. They had no vehicles, no transport, and they got to I don't know whether they had a meeting point. Most of them lived in the northeast of the country, in an area called Goshen, and then they left the country as quickly as they could. They didn't want to waste any time. Now, where did they go? We know they went through the Red Sea. Oh, well, some people say it wasn't the Red Sea, but it was the Reed Sea. And just like in English, red and reed, very similar words. In Hebrew, it's the same as well. The words are very similar. Now, I think it was the Red Sea, because the Red Sea is mentioned on a few other places. But anyway, this is what I think happened. Some of my learned friends agree and others disagree. But I think from Goshen, if you look on the map and see where Goshen is in the northeast of the country, I think they went east, and they were north of the Gulf of Suez. They went east, and then they went south. That is, they went down the eastern side of the Gulf of Suez in the Sinai Peninsula. And I read that there were some mines where Hebrew slaves had been working, and they probably collected them. And they went right down to the bottom, to the very tip of the Sinai Peninsula. And at the same time, the sadness that the Pharaoh was experiencing, the mourning that was in his heart because his son and many other sons had died in that night, this mourning changed to anger, and he decided that he must do something about this. His son has died, and he has died because of the Hebrews and because of the Hebrew gods. He can't just let them go, and in his anger he decides that he gets a devilish plan, and he is going to kill them all. Now, he can't do that by himself. He needs his army. And so he has to mobilize his army. And I'm just wondering, how long would it take to mobilize the Egyptian army? I don't think he could do it in a few minutes, and I probably couldn't even do it in a few hours. He'd have to send the message to all the people. He'd have to get his generals together. He would have to tell them what he wanted to do so that they knew how to equip the army. And when he told them his plan, the generals would have to go to the other officers and explain it to them, and then they would have to get the men ready. They would have to get the horses hitched up onto the chariots and get the weapons and so on. And I suppose there would be a meeting point somewhere where they would all get in order. They would have to wonder, which route have they taken, and then they would go after them. And I think this would probably take a few days. Maybe it took them 2 or 3 days before they could even mobilize properly. But not to worry. The Hebrews were on foot, and Pharaoh was mobile. He had horses, and so off he went after them, round the top of the Gulf of Suez, down the eastern eastern side of the Gulf of Suez down towards the tip of the Sinai Peninsula. In the meanwhile, the Hebrews had then gone around the tip and were now going northeast up the western side of the Gulf of Aqaba. And that's there when they noticed that Pharaoh's army was after them. And there's complaining, and the people, as they often complained about what was happening. And Moses was, I suppose, he was in a little bit of panic because he'd not seen the film, and he didn't know what was going to happen either. But God steadied his heart, and God led them on, and they came to a plateau. But unfortunately, this plateau was in a cul-de-sac. There was no way ahead because the way ahead was closed because of the Red Sea. Now, Moses, he lifted up his stick, his staff that he's had since the days of Midian, and he prayed, and God sent a mighty east wind. And this mighty east wind opened the Red Sea, and it blew over the seabed. In the meanwhile, Pharaoh has decided it's evening, so they can take it easy. They can have a rest. They make camp, and they're going to do the dirty work on the next day. But when the next day comes, and they mount up, and they're going to kill the Israelites, God sends a pillar of fire to stop them moving forward. He is still blowing this Red Sea, although the waves have parted. And he said that Israel could go through with dry feet. So now he's drying the seabed. There's so much detail in this, and I think it's so cool. And then the Israelites, they go through the Red Sea. They get to the other side, and I suppose it's when they're at the other side that God takes the fiery pillar away, and off Pharaoh goes in his anger and his wrath, his madness. He charges onto the seabed in the parted sea together with all his army. And then God takes his hand away, and the wind stops, and the waves close over, and this whole army is drowned. It doesn't get through the Red Sea. Then in the evening, when they camp, first time real freedom on the other side of the Red Sea. He's in Midian, actually. That's where he came from. That's one of the indicators. That's probably where they were going to. He knew his way about the... But anyway, it doesn't really matter where it is, whether it's on what we call today the Sinai Peninsula, or whether it's in Saudi Arabia. That really is of little consequence. It's just that I think it's cool there. But in the evening, they begin to worship God, and we hear something that has never ever been heard, maybe never ever been heard on earth before. They start to sing, and they're singing praises to the God. This is so exciting. And they finish the song. Miriam is playing the tambourine, and they finish this song in verse 18 of Exodus chapter 15, and it says the Lord is King forever and ever. The Lord is King forever and ever. What a wonderful end to this episode, to this great thing that is happening, that they've been freed from Egypt. They're on the way back home. This is a great escape. They have been delivered by the blood of the Lamb, saved by the hand of God, and the Lord is King forever and ever. And I hope, for whatever your situation is at the moment, I hope that you experience also God's hand in your life, and that he is King over your situation. Have a good day. God bless you. Your encourager, your Bob Hatton.